I've been scouring for Labor Day weekend PC gaming hardware sales for you, and well, here's what I've got. We do have a 5060 Ti 16GB version at the lowest price I have seen since launch in the United States, if you count the mail-in rebate. It's available down to $430, which I think is MSRP US, but if you count the mail-in rebate here, that's another $20 off. It's not as nice as if the price was actually $410, but that, like I said, is the lowest price I've seen. Usually US pricing I've seen, occasionally models available at $430, which is that, and then I don't think I've ever seen one lower on the 16GB model. So that's at least somewhat interesting. Do keep in mind, I'm not gonna rush out and say that this is some amazing, you must purchase right now kind of deal. AMD's competition with the 9060 XT 16GB is still less expensive at $380 on the lowest price models, but that's actually a bit higher than it was recently. And really, if you're looking at other, GPUs and all that, we're just mostly seeing MSRP on most NVIDIA stuff. $550 for the 5070. If you go to the 5070 Ti, it's $750. So available at their MSRPs. The 5080 is also available at its MSRP. The 5090 is still not available at MSRP. And then we have even like the RTX 5060 at MSRP, 5050 at MSRP. So the $410 being, if you count the mail-in rebate, a little bit under MSRP is the best thing I could find this weekend. It's not lighting the world on fire with its value or anything like that, but hey, there is that if you are interested. Now, the laptop space, I actually found what I think is a little bit more exciting, although before I get there, I do want to mention I did double check on this mail-in rebate, and the purchase does have to be made before 8/31 to count. So do double check in on all those details to make sure you would actually qualify for that rebate before factoring that into your buying decision. Anyway, like I said, I did feel like the laptop space was a little more interesting. Now, not that an RTX 5050 is the most amazing thing in the entire world, but similar performance levels to 4060s from the previous generation, etc. Now, in the laptop space, it's hard to say because the different thermal targets of any given laptop and all of that, and the laptop space is not my specialty. But this seemed like a pretty reasonable deal here with the Omen 16-inch. 1440p 165 hertz screen, which is, I think, the better version of the screen available on this style of laptop. It has the 1 terabyte SSD, etc. for $850. So again, in the laptop world, this doesn't seem that bad. It comes with a free copy of Battlefield 6 as well. Now, if you want something more powerful than the 5050, I did also find for $1,100 an RTX 5070 laptop. Now, one thing to keep in mind if you're more familiar with the desktop products is that the 5070 laptop version is not only less powerful than the desktop version, it's also 8 gigabytes, whereas the desktop version is 12 gigabytes. So definitely keep that in mind when you're thinking about this deal. Whereas when we're talking about cards like the 5050, I believe the 5050 component-wise is actually not only the same as the desktop version, but comes with GDDR7, whereas the desktop version comes out with GDDR6. So actually, in this case, where we're talking about the 5050s, you're talking similar to what you're getting in the desktop space, and potentially better. But again, I don't know where the laptop's thermal design is going to be. And how that could affect performance. Whereas, like I said, the 5070, only an 8 gigabyte card in the laptop space. So do keep that in mind. But again, this is coming with a 15.6 inch 1440p 165 hertz display. This one comes with the Core i7, also has the Battlefield 6 with the purchase. So hey, if you're like needing a laptop for school and the family might help you out, it might just happen to also have a 5070 or 5050 in there with a free copy of Battlefield 6, right? Anyway, now if you are in the desktop space and looking for a monitor, I just want to point out, I'm not sure people are all aware that high quality 1440p QD-OLED monitors are still not, I'm not going to say this is super affordable, but just a couple of years ago, we were talking $1,000 plus for this stuff. Now we're talking $500. Now, I understand $500 for a monitor, still quite a bit. And if you spend a little bit more, you can get above 240 hertz, etc. But I realistically, for most people's use case, the 360 hertz, 500 hertz, etc., you're not going to tell that much of a difference compared to 240 hertz. And that gets you in this $500 range for a QD-OLED from MSI here. 27-inch 1440p is pretty decent pixel density there. So yeah, I really do think that this is pretty interesting. If you've been looking out for a monitor upgrade, you've maybe been hanging on to waiting for OLEDs to become more affordable, well, here you go. You do have a somewhat more affordable QD-OLED here. Like I said, I understand that this is not the least expensive monitor in the world, but might be in that budget now if you've been holding out for those. Now, this isn't necessarily a Labor Day sale, but when I was looking for deals to highlight here, this is still the best power supply deal I can find out there. Now, if you're like Montech, that's going to be I don't know that name. It's going to be a time bomb in my PC. I did double check. This particular Montech, the Century 2 Gold ATX 3.1 versions, are actually A and A- on SPL's PSU tier list. So these are actually very high quality units. These are not only gold certified for the 80 plus certification, but they're also Cybernetics Platinum. This is fully modular. It's ATX 3.1, so you have your 12 volt 2x6 cable built in. It has a 10-year warranty. The 850 watt version, which is honestly good enough for pretty much any build, unless you're going like 50, 90 tier, $90 for really extremely highly rated power supply with a 10-year warranty. That's pretty interesting. Now, if you want just like so much power, you're just gonna hang on to this thing forever and not worry about it, the 1050 watt version is $110, again, for over 1,000 watts, pretty crazy. And the 1200 watt version, where again, you're just like, I don't know what they're gonna do with the 6090's power draw, but if they go up to 800 watts, if they make a 1,000 watt GPU, you're still good on this thing. Pair that thing with the 9800X3D and you're still within your 1200 watts, right? Anyway, so yeah, and $125 for that. Power supplies are a place where I actually recommend buying something that's quality with a long warranty and enough power for future builds if it's not crazy expensive. And this meets all of those conditions because unlike a lot of components in your build, like these things, like I said, this could survive several entire rebuilds of your PC. And 10 years from now, who knows what your what your budget's going to be. You might actually have some high-end GPUs in there, etc. So yeah, I do think that these are a really good deal at this price point. It's been holding at this price point for a while. So even though this isn't like a particular sale right now, does seem like a particularly good deal on your power supply situation. And again, like I said, the 850 watt version is listed at A- tier, and the 1050 and 1200 watt is listed as A tier on these models. So that is pretty crazy specs. Again, 10-year warranty, etc. So there you go. Now I'll throw in like a bonus deal here if you're looking for something that's not quite as expensive. You're just like, okay, I just kind of want to buy something for my PC. I did find for $25 right now, which is 50% off. Again, these things like aren't always actually listed at their full price or anything. A mechanical keyboard here. So this is the RK Royal Kludge RK68 Pro. It is wired, not wireless. It's also 60%, which some people are looking for, and some people don't want that. Meaning, notice that like we don't have our F key row, you don't have a numpad, all of that. But this is a mechanical keyboard. It does have hot swappable RGB backlit. This was Gateron Reds. I believe the blue switches were also available at the same price right now. No, it looks like that one might have ran out. They were a minute ago, I thought, but I guess they're out. Maybe these ones will run out too, so watch out. Anyway, so there's something, for somebody looking for something cheap to upgrade their situation on the Labor Day weekend. So, like I said in summary, not going to light the world on fire with the $20 mail-in rebate on the 5060 Ti 16GB, but I do think most people on a 1080p or 1440p display are going to be happy with this GPU, and that's not a crazy, ridiculous price for it, only a little more expensive than the AMD competition. for a little more performance in the NVIDIA feature set advantage. Laptop deals seemed somewhat reasonable as laptop deals go. On that 5050 and 5070 version, we do have a QD-OLED 1440p 240Hz display at $500. I think, really honestly, the best deals here I think are this power supply options, which are not particularly Labor Day weekend sale, but seemed like worth highlighting. And then, like I said, you could get yourself a cool keyboard here for 25 bucks. And that's what I've got for you guys today. Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe I missed some great deals. You could let us know. But that's what I found today that seemed most exciting to me. I hope all of you have an excellent day.